My grandfather was a dairy farmer up in Wisconsin. Sometimes he would walk with his grandsons on his farm and suddenly grab the electric fence. You know, the electrified wire that prevents cows from wandering away, and then grab our hand, transferring to us the electrical shock he was enduring. And then he'd laugh and laugh and laugh. Long story short, folks were way tougher back then. For instance, snow days at school required about 30 feet of snow and negative 100-degree temperatures. In other words, snow days were common in Wisconsin. Nobody wore seatbelts back then. If you got into an accident, you just went limp and hoped for the best. When I was a kid, I actually fell out of a moving car and was expected to go to school the next day. And we didn't just sit around letting criminals get away with everything like today. We either took the law into our own hands or hired someone to do the job for us. In 1850, Chicago had barely 30,000 people, but it was becoming the railroad center of the United States. Trains from a dozen lines came through here, carrying mail, money, and passengers. With that traffic came crime, robbery, counterfeiting, and fraud on a scale the small local police force could not handle. That same year, a 31-year-old Scottish immigrant named Allan Pinkerton moved from Dundee, Illinois to Chicago and opened the first private detective agency in American history. His office was a modest room at the corner of Washington and Dearborn Streets in the downtown loop. Pinkerton had no formal training in law enforcement. He was a barrel maker, but he got noticed in the 1840s by accidentally discovering a counterfeiting ring while gathering timber. By 1855, Pinkerton had contracts with 6 Midwestern railroads. His agents rode the express cars, guarded shipments, and investigated thefts. In 1856, Pinkerton hired America's first female detective, Kate Warren, who walked into the Chicago office and asked for a job. Warren would later play a key role in the 1861 Baltimore plot investigation, helping escort President-elect Abraham Lincoln safely through a city where secessionists reportedly planned an attack. During the Civil War, Pinkerton briefly served as head of Union intelligence. As Chicago became the nation's leading industrial city, the Pinkertons took a new and more controversial role, providing security and intelligence during labor disputes. Companies such as Pullman, McCormick, and the major railroads hired the agency to protect property, escort replacement workers, and in many cases gather information on union organizers. One of the most famous episodes was the 1894 Pullman Strike in Chicago, when Pinkerton agents were involved in violent confrontations with strikers. The agency's role in the Pullman Strike deepened the hostility many Chicago workers felt towards the firm. Congressional hearings in the 1930s exposed the extent of its anti-union activities, leading to the 1937 Federal Anti-Pinkerton Act that restricted government use of private detective agencies. Though the detective division eventually declined, the company shifted towards uniformed guarding and consulting services and continues in that form today. From 1850 to the early 1900s, Chicago was the headquarters and proving ground of the Pinkerton National Detective Agency. It's where the term private eye came from.
I was not aware of that.
And it helped shape modern private investigation. Modern, meaning back in the days when private investigators were tough.